thank you for joining my SEL session. We're going to do some quick stuff about Soundtrap, quick things about SEL, and then how Soundtrap can enhance SEL. If you don't know me, I'm Serena Robinette. I'm an engagement specialist here at Soundtrap. I support teachers in using Soundtrap in their classroom because I was one. I was a former music teacher, and then I moved and taught tech and used Soundtrap all those years. And so now I'm here to support other teachers using Soundtrap. I'd love to start off just knowing how you're feeling. How is your day going? If you're on the East Coast, your day is hopefully ending soon. If you're on the West Coast, hopefully you're having like a nice lunch break. So if you could tell me either using a word from this feelings wheel or an emoji, I'll put mine in. So yeah, throw that in the chat. Good question in the question and answer. This session will be recorded, and I will be sending it out to all participants, all registrants who join us. So don't worry, you'll get this session. Ooh, I see in the chat, feeling fire emoji. Oh, I love that. That is great. Oh, we have an upside down smile. I totally understand that. Oh, Steph, I love the dancing. That's a good one. Awesome. And thank you to those who just joined. We're just getting started. Just how are you feeling? I'm seeing some smiley face emojis in the chat. Love that. You can use an emoji or a word from this feelings wheel. Again, nice to take stock in how we're feeling. And thank you for sharing your emojis. I appreciate that. Hopefully I can make some of these even more happy, excited, all the good stuff on the feelings wheel. Joyful, curious, inquisitive. Love it. I would love to know in the chat, what are some SEL strategies you currently use in your classroom? So when I taught, my big thing during testing season was that whenever my students came in, I'd kind of drop everything. No spring concert prep, no nothing, no lessons, and all we would do was mindful breathing. I had like a whole strategy where they had to like imagine like a ball and feel the weight of it and all that. And then like feel it in their hands and move as if it's like changing shape, changing weight. And really focusing and being mindful on that moment. And I think it really helped. So I'd love to know in the chat, what are some SEL strategies you use in your classroom? What do you do to support students' social emotional learning? Ooh, I love this. If possible, go outside, take the lesson, or just a few minutes to get some sunlight. Oh, that is so important, especially if you're in a place with great weather. Yeah, today it's like foggy, kind of rainy, but still fun, right? Kids love running in the rain. Any others? Any other cool SEL strategies you're using? Ooh, I love this. Run through your body. Start with your toes, up your legs, through your body, and into your head. Check in. How do you feel? Oh, I love that. I love that mindfulness. I'm a big fan of that. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I know during COVID, I did a lot of questions with students. We had a Google form that was like tailored to the things that they watched. So like we had a My Hero Academia one, Baby Yoda one, and it was like pick the picture of Baby Yoda that connects to how you're feeling. And then there was a space for them to write like, why are you feeling this way? Is there anything you want to share? If they felt comfortable sharing with me. And I thought that was helpful. And so what I would do is after the class, I'd go through all their answers and reach out to them individually, like, hey, I saw that this is, the anniversary of your grandma's passing. Like, what can I do to support you? Right. And I felt like that was really helpful. Curious if anyone does that in person now. So yeah, I mentioned earlier, we're going to quickly go show some student work, show what some people have been doing, talk about Soundtrap if you don't know it. how we can use Soundtrap for some of the SEL initiatives that you're doing. And then I want to give you time to create, to do some activities. Hopefully that's fun. And then I'll share some lessons and resources that you might need. So this one is really cool. This lesson is empathy interviews and creating for joy. And I'm actually going to have the teacher share. We have a recording of the teacher sharing. So I'm going to play this right here. Let me make sure that my audio is sharing sound.
Two loves, and they're actually in one project. So Talk and Roll is an empathy project where students pair up in the classroom. They interview each other with very basic questions like, what's your favorite season? What's your favorite type of music? They get really, into some personal questions, but basic. Then they separate, almost like a divorce, and they go and make a song for each other based on the answers that they got from their podcast interview. So in the end, I'm hoping that I can have a product where I have a very basic interview between two people at the beginning, a very simple podcast, separation, a revealing of the two songs that they've made for each other, specifically with each other in mind, and maybe even talk about those songs at the end. So a nice succinct podcast with a combination of podcasting and music making all wrapped into one project.
Yeah, so that's that lesson. We actually have a lesson plan for that. I've done that with adults and it works really well. And so obviously this teacher's done it with his students. And it is just such a cool thing to be able to, learn more about someone and have that space to just chat, but then to create something to bring the other person joy, whether that's a podcast or a story or some music, which is really fun. This other one was actually humanizing oral stories. It was a school that had an ethnic studies course. And so they interviewed an elder in their community about a topic of their choice, some of them including immigration, interracial relationships, feminism, activism, art. And I think it was really cool to have students connect in that way. SEL, not only is it about, yourself and your emotions, but also your relationships with others. So I'm going to show a little bit of this as well.
Welcome to Black Resilience, a podcast examining my family and close family friends, as well as their talent and generational resilience against the evolving racism of the decades.
Welcome to Searching for Freedom, a podcast dedicated to interviewing and documenting the stories of immigrants living in the U.S.
This is episode 1, Home Away from Home. In this episode, we examine my grandfather's experience with immigration and how life differed from his homeland to the living standards in America.
So that's, again, a snippet of kind of what they did, but you can see they're starting to talk to other people, figure out their community, think about what others are wanting, that empathy. So many great SEL stuff in that. So if you do not know Soundtrap, it is a digital audio workstation. It's basically an online recording studio. So you can pretty much do anything you do with audio recording. You can record your voice, you can record instruments, you can mix, edit, make stories, songs, film scores, podcasts. Again, anything your students can think of, they can create in Soundtrap. I did want to do a quick little demo. I have this checklist, and this actually is a checklist lesson that you can use with your students to get them to explore the studio and introduce them to it. So I'm going to show these in order. I'm going to show you voice track, how to add it, the transcript feature, which is really cool, how to add music and maybe sound effects, how to add a collaborator, and how to save the project. So this is our Soundtrap studio. Right in the middle, you see add new track, a big plus button. I just click that and I'm going to choose voice and microphone. That's where I record my voice in a microphone. And then there's a big start recording button. So I would just hit start recording. Hello, today I'm going to talk about my high, low, and surprise of the day. And that's the beginning of my podcast. So I have my voice recording. I can do some cool stuff if I hit edit. I can reverse, I can auto-tune, I could transform my voice into a baby, robot, or alien. So those are some of the kind of fun things. I know sometimes students get nervous about sharing their voice, so that's kind of a cool thing. But I did want to show the transcript feature. So on the bottom left of the studio right here, I'm going to zoom in, there's this transcript option. And when you click on it, it'll ask you to select a voice track, and I transcribe that microphone that I just recorded, that audio. I hit confirm, and what's going to happen is it's going to take my audio that I just recorded and it's going to turn it into text. So again, if we're thinking about, so you see, hello, today I'm going to talk about my high, low surprise of the day. And if I go back and press play, it'll follow along, kind of like a sing-along. Hello, today I'm going to talk about my high, low, and surprise of the day. So there we go. Maybe if I don't want to say of the day, I can click it and delete. And actually, if you take a look at the audio right here, you'll see when I delete these words, it's actually deleting the audio, which is pretty cool. So that transcript is really helpful. Again, if we're thinking about maybe students who struggle with writing, this is a great way for them to share their voice without having to write a 5-paragraph essay. They can share their thoughts, they can share their feelings without writing it down if they struggle. And of course, you can control click and you can copy the text and turn it into an essay if they need to. So I do think that's a pretty cool feature. On the right-hand side, you'll see these 2 icons, the music note. I'm going to click on that first. So right now it shows some sound effects we have, but we also have tons of musical loops. So if I wanted to, I have my little intro to what I'm going to do, but maybe I'll add like a really pretty piano and I'll scroll down and I can test it out by clicking the play button. I really like that. So what I'm going to do is double click or drag and drop, but I'm going to double click. And as you can see, it automatically shows up underneath. So now I start having some music and kind of bringing a mood. Hello, today I'm going to talk about my high, low, and surprise of. So yeah, now we're starting to see kind of a bigger project unfolding. We also, again, I mentioned the sound effects. If I click sound, I can scroll down, or I can even search pretty basic terms. So if I have a dog, so maybe one of my negatives was my dog barking, I can double click and again move that in anywhere I want. So if I wanted to kind of add to that, make it a little multimedia. And then the last thing I wanted to share was adding a collaborator. So right underneath that music note icon is the people collaborator icon. So I can actually invite fellow classmates, friends. Let's see, who do I have? I don't know if I have anyone in this group. Actually, yeah, I don't have anyone in this group with me. But if students are in a group, because it's a walled garden, so they can only invite their classmates, not like their cousin from the next town over, they'll be able to add students and they can work on a project together. So that talk and roll project I mentioned, the students can be in one project doing that. So maybe if a student is at home doing some remote work and one student's in person, they can still work together in the studio, which is really cool. And then of course you can save the project, change the name, and then file export. So you can turn it into an MP3 and start, sharing that with the world. So I want to quickly talk about like how Soundtrap can connect to SEL initiatives. If you don't know social emotional learning, there is 5 components from CASEL: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. So again, that's kind of what supports students in their SEL learning. So self-awareness, being able to identify their emotions. How are you feeling today, right? Self-management, how to manage those emotions. I feel angry, but here's what I can do. Social awareness, right? Just demonstrating empathy, compassion, support for others, right? That's that creating for joy. Relationship skills, communicating, teamwork, problem solving, and then responsible decision making, right? The benefits and consequences of actions and things like that. So those are some of the competencies. There are other ways that I think SEL is super important, particularly with that parasympathetic nervous system. That's the fight or flight, right? When you're having those big emotions, what do? Do you fight, scream, rage, or do you flight? You're just like, I'm not dealing. And how can we support students in that? Same with mind-body connection. I know in the chat, there was the whole idea of like running through your body, feeling different parts. That's that somatic awareness. And then making sure that we're always trauma informed, but not trauma detectives. I think those are super important as we talk about SEL. And I highly recommend you look those up as you're like learning more. So if we're thinking about Soundtrap and how that can connect, we actually have tons of lessons and resources in how to support students with that. One of my favorites for building inclusive learning environments, especially like those first days you're getting to know students, is Say My Name. So all students join a project, or alternatively, you have one project and every student comes up and records their name and how they want it to be pronounced. That is so important. And so this is something that students can create, and each student has their own little track, as you can see here. And students you can extend that, maybe nicknames or pronouns if they feel comfortable. Maybe one cool thing about them. Again, you can kind of expand that, but this could be really great, especially to remember students' names and pronounce it correctly. And in addition, maybe you give it to a substitute. So now you're continuing that inclusive learning environment. We also have 4-7-8 breathing, again, that somatic awareness, mindfulness. We have land acknowledgements. Again, I think that's super important, thinking about responsible decision making, empathy, all that. Our empathy interviews, bringing joy. We also have a few others. The emoji lesson is super great. There was a teacher in Illinois who shared that with us, and we kind of built it out from that. Really great. Having students, again, think about, what am I feeling? Now, how can I represent that either musically or in a story? What's in your news, I think, is really helpful. This lesson basically gives students a chance to reflect on what is going on in my news. What am I seeing? And then how do I feel about that? And then, based on my identity, how does that make me feel? And then what can I do? Again, what kind of decisions can I make? And then the last one, allies for justice. Again, if we're thinking about communities and how we build that, how are students allies in their community? So I know I threw a lot of examples at you. I want to give you time actually to go into the studio. So I'm going to give you a Soundtrap, kind of a free version of our studio in the chat. This link, spotted.fi/ST studio. And what we're going to do a high-low surprise. So what you'll do is kind of what I did. You're going to add a new track, hit voice microphone, and you're just going to do quickly what was a high today that happened, what's like a highlight, a win, a success, something positive. What was a low, right? A challenge, some difficulty that you encountered. And then what's something that surprised you? Maybe you're surprised that this was a good session. Who knows? Maybe this was your low. That's okay too. Very valid feelings. And then you'll hit start recording. And then when you're done, you'll add maybe some sound effects or some loops and music to kind of build on that. If you use that Spotify Studio, that free version, it might ask you to log in. Just click the X and it'll give you the studio. And then make sure when you're using a loop, it doesn't say start a freemium trial or premium. So I'm going to give us about 6 minutes to create. Feel free to type any questions in the chat if you need, but I'm going to give you 5 minutes to record. All right, everyone, I hope you had a chance to record. Don't worry, you can always come back to it. And it, of course, does not have to be perfect. No one's listening. So I hope you at least had a chance to create, maybe think about your high, low, or surprise for the day. I hope your high was this session, but we'll see. I'd love to know how that made you feel in the chat. If you thought that was a valuable experience, even just to create in Soundtrap, think about loops, think about that feeling with your students. But I know we only have a couple minutes, so I want to make sure we get to everything. So feel free to keep typing in the chat how that made you feel. Again, you can use an emoji or you can use a word. But I did want to address, I know, talk of SEL, in particular with students, we often miss that teachers need support and, social emotional support. So I do want to say, make sure you put your mask on first. It's almost impossible to build student social emotional well-being without working on our own. And I know that I or the Soundtrap team can't fix the systemic inequities and like all the unfair expectations put on you. But hopefully we can like lighten the mountain of work that is on you. So if there's like a lesson you need to do or you want to do and you need like someone's help to work on it, that's what we're here for. Or if you need someone to talk to, I'm also here. I got time. We are here for you. So I know some tech platforms, you don't really get a lot of like personal support. And so please know like that's what we are here for, what we do. So yeah, we are your community. Email me if you need anything at all. My email's easy to remember for that reason. It's serena@soundtrap.com. I want to make your life easier because I know how hard it was and is still. We also have a tech support. So if there's any tech issues, we actually have like people on call who support. And again, if that doesn't work, that's what my email's for too. We also have an incredible Facebook page of educators who are helping other educators. So I just want to show you a little bit about this page. Some people ask questions like, hey, you know, some of my USBs aren't working. What can I do? And people answer. I share a lot about these sessions. Sometimes people are like, hey, what lessons can I do? And all these teachers are like, here, try this, try out my curriculum, try this. Here are some projects I've done. That is so rare for Facebook communities. So I definitely want to recommend like that community is there for you. We also create projects and lessons and ideas. As you saw those lesson plans, but we also do a culture capsule project. So every month we're trying to do several activities based on that month. But again, you can use these all year long. So we have Black History initiatives, Women's History Month activities, National Poetry Month activities, but you can do poetry or Black History or Women's History all year long. So we just want to build out these resources for you so you don't have to spend time preparing when you only have one prep period or none in some cases. So that's what we're here for, to support. We also have educator courses that are asynchronous. So obviously I know that you all like to learn, like to improve yourselves. The asynchronous courses are great because you can like watch them and do your dishes. Multitasking, work smarter, not harder. But we also have our sessions and we also have one-on-one sessions. So if you go to our events page, you'll find, we call them mic checks. So if you ever need, find where it says mic check and you'll be able to have a one-on-one session with our team. So helpful. So yeah, the last thing I wanted to share, if you are new to Soundtrap, you get free 90-day account, woo! So that should last you till the end of the year, which is great, or even summer school. So if you wanted to try that for summer school, again, that's a perfect time to do SEL initiatives. You would just follow these steps and then also reach out to my colleague Stephanie at soundtrap.com, another easy name to remember, email, to schedule kind of a follow-up meeting to see like what we can do in terms of accounts for your school or district. If you're already a Soundtrap member, thank you, you rock. Feel free to email Lizzie at Soundtrap, my colleague Lizzie, for more seats. Maybe we can get you a few more seats, get more students in. Maybe that's your teacher neighbor down the hall who might want some for their students too. Again, feel free to email those colleagues. And again, I'm going to put my email one more time in because I am here for you. Please, please, please reach out to me. Please reach out to support if you need it. But thank you so much. I appreciate you joining. And I got you in 1 minute before 4:30. So thank you so much for joining. I hope you have a great day. I will send out the recording and the slide decks probably tomorrow, admittedly, for my well-being. But thank you again for joining. I super appreciate it. Have a good day. Bye.